to this episode of DCBSTV. My name is Jamie Hopper. I am the team manager here at Full Sail Career Development. I work with the visual arts team. And today we have two great guests with us, friends of Full Sail from ID Tech. We have Jen and Robbie. So let's start with Robbie. What do you do for ID Tech? Start with your title and...
Great, absolutely. My name is Robbie Little. I'm the recruiting manager here at ID Tech. I'm also a regional manager where I manage two of our programs in Massachusetts, which are MIT and Bentley. But I oversee all of our recruiting efforts across the country and help fill 1,100 positions for our summer jobs.
Wow, that's a lot of roles.
It's a lot.
And Jen, you just recently won an award too with ID Tech, didn't you?
That's right. So I'm a lead regional manager. So essentially, this time of year, I'm primarily a hiring manager. So I manage 6 ID Tech camps, primarily in the Southeast, and I also hire, staff, of course, for ID Tech camps, and then I assist with the recruiting efforts as well.
Is recruiting year-long for ID Tech, or is it seasonal?
It's a seasonal, in a way. I mean, there's a lot of preparation that has to go in the fall, but our hiring season starts in November, and we end our hiring in April. So, in essence, our recruiting starts probably in October and runs all the way up until April.
So, can you tell us a little bit about ID Tech? What do you do? What is ID Tech about?
Well, ID Tech started in 1999. It's a family-owned business, and we're the world's #1 tech camp. We really pride ourselves in that because we, found like what we feel to be the perfect combination of education, fun, technology, just all infused together. So everyone at our company is really passionate about what we can offer our clients, and our staff, everybody. We just want to be the best at what we can be.
Our camps are for ages 7 to 17, and we offer a wide variety of different courses that we teach at our camps and academies. They range from video game design, programming, robotics, web design, film, and even photography.
Yeah, and one thing I want to say too for the people joining us online, please know, ask your questions as we go throughout, and at the end we'll have a time for a Q&A segment. So definitely start, throwing those in the chat section of the online portion so that we can get those, and then we'll save those for the end. So with ID Tech, and you've been here on campus before, right? This is the second time for Jen?
Right.
And what kind of sticks out when you're here on campus, when you're looking at our grads? What are some highlights for you?
I think, primarily about the campus, I've never been just so, it's almost overwhelming how cool this campus is.
Yeah,
the equipment is so state-of-the-art. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. Even down to the tiny details, the students' artwork on the walls, you can see the progression of it. Just everything, even going into the sound studio today. But what really sticks out, I think, about the students is that they're extremely passionate about what they're doing and very dedicated to just, becoming professionals in this field. And I see that, here when I visit, and then also I see that in the students that have worked for us at ID.
How about for you, Robbie? This was your first time?
Yeah, this is my first time. I was really excited. Last year I was actually at another university speaking. It was 12 degrees up there, so I'm actually really excited to be down here where it's 81 degrees. But Jen came back last year and had nothing but wonderful things to say, and I'm amazed, from the recording studios to all the different things that the students have access to. I'm pretty amazed. The thing that's unique about Full Sail is, 2 years ago, we hired close to about 18 students, which is a lot. And then last year was our first year where we came on campus to recruit and to promote our jobs, and we hired close to about 40 to 44 Full Sail students to work at our summer jobs. So we're hoping to continue that effort and even grow those numbers. And we have a really high target of 60 students we'd love to hire from Full Sail this year. But we just, we're really impressed with the quality of student that we get to work at our programs. We find that they're just very passionate and they're very knowledgeable in what they're teaching. So.
And so out of those 60s, when you're recruiting, what stands out in a candidate? Are there certain things where you can kind of hone in on that this would be a good fit for ID Tech, or they have a certain kind of skill? What does it look like? Is it on a resume? Is it something they say? Their LinkedIn maybe?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So, working with our program, the one thing that they have to fill out an application online through our website, idtech.com/jobs. They can go to, and they'll be able to fill out an application. Within that application, what we're looking for is we want as much information as possible from what skills they have, what programs they've used, and also give me a glimpse of who you are. Are you passionate about game design? Do you want to work with kids? Show that you've researched our company. At the very bottom of our application, there's a section where you kind of do a write-up and almost like an elevator pitch as to why you feel you'd be a good fit. And the one thing I look for is I want to truly get to know who the candidate is. And the people who take the time, you can really tell. And that's what that's the one I will select for an interview.
Also, on an application, we ask you to list, your skill set for a variety of topics. And so you might be majoring in game art, but on the application, we don't want you to list that as the only thing that you know. If you know about Minecraft or Java programming, Torchlight 2, list those skill levels, even if it's the very basic level, because our clientele are 7 to 17-year-olds. So if you have experience with Unreal Engine, but you're not a professional, that's fine. You can definitely teach that to a 13-year-old.
We do provide curriculum for all of our courses, so it allows for you to really learn these programs before you get to camp. And we have the tools and resources that will allow you to become proficient in these skills as well.
And where opportunities, there's certain locations y'all have hotbeds for. What were some of the hotbed locations, and what are some of the other areas that y'all are in location-wise?
Sure. So some of the locations that we have 70 locations across the country. We hold all our camps at prestigious universities. So it's close to over 30 different states. So it's really unique. It presents a lot of travel opportunities for people. So some of our most popular locations are the LA area at UCLA, or San Diego, or even Northern California. Miami can be a popular destination. But some schools that we really are looking to hire are for our Texas area. Also Massachusetts and New York. But the trick is with those schools in Massachusetts and New York, we need people that are local because we don't have housing options for those people staying there. At most of our camps, which are overnight, we do provide lodging and meals, so staff have the ability to travel, but at our camps that are only our day program, we don't have that option, so we need people that are local to those schools.
Is that apparent in the application program and process? When you're applying for, say, New York, do you know that there's limited travel or housing available there, or do you know that's somewhere where that would be offered?
You do know that somewhere it would be offered. I would say, as with any job, do your homework. Our website, idtech.com, will give you so much information about each individual site. So if you're considering working in New York, a lot of those campuses are in the city, so they don't provide us with housing, so we're not able to provide it to our staff. So that's a place where you would have to provide your own housing and your own transportation. But I would say the majority of our camps are overnight, and you can tell that from the website and also in the application process.
Gotcha. So somebody in Maryland that would be applying for something in Texas, it's not a problem?
No.
Correct.
Gotcha. What is, take us through the application process. So they apply, what's the timetable? Would they get an automated response back? What's a realistic window for somebody who would be applying to ID Tech?
So something we've actually, I've instituted this year is we're trying to, one of our mottos at ID Tech is POS, which is Positively Outrageous Service. Well, we do that a lot for our clients, but one thing I really want to do is is our job applicants who apply. And one thing I've tasked our 18 hiring managers with is that we aren't to let any applications go longer than a month without hearing something from us. Typical response time is about 2 to 3 weeks from when you apply. You'll either receive a rejection letter that this wasn't the job for you, or you'll be contacted by one of our regional managers for an interview.
Gotcha. What would you say, let me ask this, because I know sometimes people will apply to something, they get a rejection letter, and then they never go back again. Is there something they could do different? Is there information? What advice would you give somebody that maybe wasn't a fit on the first round, but they still had the passion, wanted to work for one of the camps?
I would say the majority of the reason why people are rejected before the interview is for lack of information provided on the application, or information that's provided that's not professional. You can tell they didn't put time into filling out the application. There's lowercase i's or misspelled words, or they just copy and pasted everything. Everything is the same in every cell. We want to get to know you, and this is your chance to stand out. And then during the interview process, we want people to share with us their knowledge, specific examples of projects they've worked on. Also thinking about your setting that you're going to be in. You're going to be at a camp, you're going to be working on a team, you're going to be working with kids and talking to their parents. So I think considering all of, the whole package is big.
Yeah, and you mentioned, what stands out. Well, something too is if they do get a rejection letter, or they do get an interview and they don't end up getting the job and we send a rejection letter, one thing I would encourage and we're open to is afterward, if they're like, hey, could you provide me with any feedback that, would help me in the future, or was there, we're happy to. I mean, I've actually had a few people that have gone through 2 or 3 years where they just, their interview wasn't the best. So they asked for feedback, and the following year they changed some things, they gained some experience, and it was a completely different interview, and they ended up being a stellar staff member that I ended up hiring.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to break through on that first round.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now for degrees such as, say, like film or our digital cinematography degree, are there certain trades, editing software, certain cameras that kind of jump off the application that somebody would have a skill in that area that you see trends from Full Sail grads?
I mean, what we're looking for is, Full Sail is you're exposed to a lot, which is unique and exciting. For our programs at our film academies, the software that we use is Final Cut Pro, which I believe students do have access to here. Yeah. I know we don't use Avid, but I know that they have access to that as well. But we're looking, the 2 programs that we like to see knowledge in are Final Cut Pro and
Adobe After Effects.
Adobe After Effects, because that's where they'll do some special effects work as well. With our film academies, we don't have as many positions, but we do have, it is a harder position to fill sometimes because we are looking for certain qualifications. We just want to see, tell us as much as you can. You'll be teaching these students to kind of make their own type of documentary, so you're taking them through the whole process themselves as filmmakers. So we're looking for a very well-rounded filmmaker.
So somebody that's kind of a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
Right, they've gone through the whole process, because you have to think you're kind of the producer and the director kind of all rolled into one. You're helping to write the script, then you're, teaching camera skills, and then helping with the shoot and giving feedback and constructive criticism, and so it's kind of the whole package. But that's why we're here at Full Sail, because we have hired the most amazing staff from here. The students, that make up our staff from Full Sail, I should say, because the education that the students receive here is just top notch, and so they're ready to start this job.
Yeah.
And they really do a great job.
Now, what could they expect? Take us through like a typical day. So you get the gig, you're stationed in Houston.
Sure.
What's a typical day like? How do things start?
So if they're an overnight instructor, typically they'll wake up around 7:30. They might wake up the kids that stay overnight with us, and they'll go to breakfast. And then there are students that come for just a day only. They're dropped off 8 to 9. Once 9 o'clock hits, that's when the instruction starts for the day. So they're with their 8 students, and it's important to know they'll only have 8 students each week. They'll never have more than 8. Some weeks they might have 6 or 7, but they're working with their 8 kids, and they're going to start from 9 o'clock and go up until whenever lunch is, it could be 11:30 or 12, depending on the location. So if they have 3 hours of instruction in the morning, then there's a break for lunch for an hour, and then you come back, and then from 1 to about 2:30, you continue with instruction. The fun thing with the instruction is it doesn't have to be all in front of the computer. If you want to go have breakout sessions or you want to do something different, completely. And if you want to have an icebreaker, a little break for the students, by all means, go for it. You have control of your class. Every day we have a structured activity from 2:30 to 3:30. We'd like to take the kids outdoors for some type of activity, whether it's a capture the flag game, ultimate frisbee. We also have gaming tournaments, which I know are huge and staff love and kids love. And they range from our Team Fortress 2 or Shoot Mania for our younger students. So there's always something going on. We have a structured period, 2:30 to 3:30, and then they'll wrap up from 3:30 to 4:45. Where you'll kind of wrap up the day, plan out your goals for the next day and upcoming days, and just wrap up your instruction. And then if they're overnight, you get 2 nights off, typically in a week, or you'll kind of stay on in the evening where you'll go to dinner and then have some type of activity or put on a movie or go back to the labs and game a little bit. So,
I think what's important to stress is that it is, you can work 50 to 60 hours per week. This isn't your typical, 9 to 5 job. But what's really cool about the culture at ID Tech is that this is a summer camp. And so we want everybody being super creative, having a lot of fun. Our instructors get dunked with buckets of water sometimes by the campers. There's all types of outdoor games, capture the flag, ultimate frisbee. They tour the campus.
We have theme days, and that's unique. I mean, staff are like, theme days, and they can really get into it where they'll come up as a team and let the campers know because the campers love it. Maybe tomorrow's going to be superhero theme day. And then next thing you know, everyone comes in dressed up as either their favorite superhero or they make up their own. So it's unique. So you might have Pirates and Ninjas or 80s Day. So it really creates this cool environment where, there's a lot of learning going on, and it's a tech camp, but at the same time, we have our own unique culture. All of our staff come up with camp nicknames. We ask them not to use their own name, not because it's not a great name. It's just, it's something fun coming up with different. I use Boston because I worked out in LA, and I talked funny apparently to everyone, and would call the water fountain the bubbler. So they didn't know what that meant, so I just went with Boston, and it worked.
What's the bubbler mean?
The water fountain where you get a drink.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the people in Massachusetts would understand what a bubbler is.
Shame on me.
Yeah.
And that's one of the questions that we ask in our interview, like, what would your camp nickname be, and why would you choose it? We want to see, like, maybe it's your gamer tag. I mean, who knows? I've had several. It was Princess Peach, Lone Star Stinger, Sunshine.
You get everything.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to call yourself Lamp, go for it. Have fun with it.
Whatever works.
Yeah, whatever works.
And then it's by contract, so it's for a certain period of time, is it?
So a lot of our camps, they vary in size and vary in the amount of weeks they work. Some programs only run for 4 weeks. Some programs run for 6 weeks. But when you're hired, it all kind of depends on you, the staff member as well. If they're able to teach a variety of courses, they're going to be open to more weeks of work. It also depends on their availability. So our total summer spans 12 weeks. The most one camp runs is about 9 weeks, which is in Stanford and our location in Seattle, and actually I think UCLA as well. But all of our camps, they're different. But if someone's looking for more weeks of work, we're always able to accommodate that and switch them around and they get to travel to new locations.
Yeah, it's not uncommon to have a staff member work at 2 or even 3 different locations during the summer.
But go for it.
Is it usually always during the summer? Are there certain periods? Or can you do this throughout the year?
It's only during the summer. Our first camp opens right after Memorial Day, and we close the very last Friday in August, or the second to last week in August.
And the hiring frenzy would happen for that. You would be starting to look for people in...
We started hiring in December, and then we try to have everybody hired by the middle or end of April.
Gotcha.
So we're like, apply now.
Because we are hiring right now. We have 18 regional managers or hiring managers interviewing and hiring people right now. So what I would stress to people is this is a great time to get your application in. Try not to wait until March. I get it. You're looking for other things, but just know that there's not as many available positions towards the end of March and April. Positions start to get filled, and this is probably your best time to apply now and find a position that suits you and that you want to do.
And once again, what's the website they get that at?
It's idtech.com/jobs.
So we're already starting to get some good questions, which is great. Continue to send those into the live chat, the live stream chat window. So it's interesting, Jackson, Michigan. We were talking about this earlier. You have opportunities in Michigan. Jake Perry asked about, would experience volunteering at a camp in his past help in applying for an opportunity at ID Tech?
Absolutely. That one thing I'll say is, when we, looking at this, we usually see the technical side of things, and it's always hard finding someone that has experience with kids, but also has the technical side. So when you have both, that really plays to your advantage, and increases your, increases your chances of being selected for an interview. So having any type of experience working with kids or in a camp setting is very beneficial. Now, it's not required. I don't want to, freak people out and be like, oh, I need to work with kids or anything. That's completely okay, but it is very beneficial to see that on an application.
Helps your chances.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have another one from Storm Walker. That could be a name of a...
I like that nickname.
Sounds like a camp nickname.
Sounds like a made-up name. Sorry, Storm, that's your real name. Storm Walker from Orlando asked, are there any positions available for recording arts graduates? So somebody from our RA program or even show production, if they wanted to be a recording engineer, are there opportunities at ID Tech for somebody of that skill?
Depending on their skill set. We don't have any courses that are specifically related to recording. The closest to that would just be something within film or whatnot, but we don't have a specific course suited towards that. So if that's what they wanted to work for, I would say most likely not. Now if if they have other skill sets that they could possibly do, sure, but when it comes to recording, not so much.
Gotcha. So if they worked at a church, maybe helping out with videotaping the services or could edit, definitely having that on the application would help them.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
Definitely.
So just because they're from RA doesn't mean...
Correct. I'll give you a perfect example. Myself, I'm a business management major, but I worked at ID Tech just because I worked with kids before. And I know video games, I play them. So I was able to learn stuff and be able to teach that because I know what it takes to teach students and just work with kids. And I was able to pick up material fast. So, if this is something that sounds like you might want to try, please let us know. Tell us as much as you can. If you just tell me you play video games, that gives me an immense amount of information that you might not think is helpful, but to me, it's very helpful in thinking, wow, this is someone I might really want to interview because they might be able to learn this course or this course.
And were you going to say something, Jen, about that process?
No.
No. And I know that's very valuable, too, because, some of our grads, if you're applying to EA, you're going to do things a lot differently than you might in applying for a company like ID Tech. But that helps you. Is there a resume that they attach, or is it all application-based and kind of essay?
It is all application-based. When you start to complete the application, you'll see skills listed on one side, and we want you to kind of elaborate on, your experience with the software. And then at the very bottom, there's a place where you can really just tell us about yourself and why you want to work for ID, what you're passionate about. Kind of gives us a little glimpse about you other than just your experience with software.
Gotcha.
And at the bottom of that as well, there's the ability to add your portfolio. So if you have a website that your portfolio is on, please list that, because that gives us even more information. What are you working on? What projects have you done? Some people's websites are really impressive, and it gives us a glimpse of your skill level and what you've accomplished. Because if you are a 3D model and animator, chances are we're going to reach out to you and be like, hey, can you send me some of your work? So if you already provide that for us, if you do have a website that your portfolio is on, please include that at the bottom. So that's very beneficial.
And I'd like to add that we have 4 different divisions under the ID Tech umbrella. We have ID Tech Camps, our ID Game Design and Development, ID Film Academy, and our ID Programming Academy. The academies are 13 to 18, so, and I know they definitely require a portfolio because we're looking for, it's a 2-week camp, it's intense instruction, so they want, people who are professional at what they do, and I know all the Full Sail students meet that, so.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I wanted to bring up, you talked about, elaborate on your skills. So what do you mean by that? If somebody knows Cinema 4D or Maya and they said 3 years experience, or what do you mean by elaborate on that?
So sometimes people will put, took a 1-semester class on working with Maya. And I'm like, well, what did you do? What did you produce, Give me an example of that.
Yeah, was there any rigging involved? How far in depth did you go with animation when it comes to programming? What concepts did you take? Did you take an object-oriented programming class? Did you just take an intro to CS? When I see someone who just puts, I'm very professional in the software, well, that doesn't really tell me anything because, okay, you're very professional, but,
what does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean? Now you're asking, now I have to really dig deeper and, if the rest of the application looks good, sure, I'll send you an interview, but it doesn't, give me as much information as possible. What are some things that you've done with the program and what do you know?
Even with some of the video games, if you're like, I worked somewhat with the editor, that even helps us because we're like, oh, okay, you've worked with the editor. Or I play the game, all the time. Well, that's great. You could probably teach it if you just spend a little bit more time working with the editor. So just as much information as possible. Even if it seems silly saying, I play this video game, it's not silly to us. It's like what we're looking for.
Especially with like genres, in the video games. If you're if you like your your RPGs, that's great. Now I really feel like you might be able to teach our RPG class that runs a lot. We have 2 different ones, whether it's RPG Maker for our little kids or using Torchlight 2. You might not have worked with both programs, but if you understand and like playing those types of games, the type of strategy or, the storyline that goes into it, so.
Do links help? If there was a link in there, can you hyperlink to it, or would you have to type it in to look it up? If somebody said, so I was a modeler on this project, and they put the link there for you, would that be beneficial?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It definitely is. And there's an area at the bottom where they can put a link to their portfolio, as many links as they want to put.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They can say, hey, down below I've listed a link, and this is the link. It won't hyperlink in the actual skill set, but at the very bottom, that's where everything hyperlinks, so I can just click. Anything they put in their skills, preferences area, it won't hyperlink that.
Gotcha.
But if they're like, hey, below this is what it's called, and this is, the link to it, please see below, and, you can do that.
Good, but definitely explain what they did in the link.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not just 15 links to random things.
Exactly.
What did you do on these?
Yeah.
So another question, Jake Perry, part 2, asked, he's married and he was wondering about lodging is lodging available for a married couple if you were teaching at the camp?
It is not. So as you know, at universities, there's very strict rules. We do background checks on all of our staff. Some places, they even require you to be fingerprinted. So whoever is around our campers, they have to have a background check. They have to be employed by us. So your family can live nearby, but they're not able to live on campus with you. Also, we do have an instructor position can also be a commuter. So you can live at the residence of, you can live at your own residence and then commute to and from camp on a daily basis, just like you would, a regular job, a typical job, I guess. Yeah.
Interesting. You mentioned the commuter thing. Chris Stone from Topeka, Kansas wanted to know if there's any out-of-pocket expenses that are required for those that are hired, say, if you're traveling to a camp location.
There's a few that are associated in the beginning. One is, we require all our staff to be CPR and first aid certified. Typically, if you're applying to different locations across the country, it's expected that, you would be, that you would pay to get there. Now, I will say this too, you can work with the, hiring managers if, hey, I would really love to do this, but unfortunately, it's a lot to get to and from. So, in some instances, we were able to work with people. It's not something that I will say happens all the time.
Right.
But if we do ask you to travel somewhere, we will cover all the costs. So if I was like, hey, Jay in Topeka, I really need you to work at Boston. If I were to contact him and see his app, and he might have not put anything for the Boston schools, well, guess what? I'll pay for his flights to get out there. So that happens. We do that actually a lot, and especially in the summertime too, when we need an emergency instructor, we'll be like, hey, we'll pay for your taxi, cab, food, whatever it is, we'll get you there and all expenses paid. We take care of it, don't worry about it. We'll buy the tickets and things like that. But if they want to go to a certain location in the beginning, typically it's their cost that they'll have to cover.
Yeah. You bring up an interesting piece. Are there areas that are you're more challenged in finding instructors for? Is South Florida for, the animation or the film academy or something like that?
Absolutely. I mean, I know Jen, she actually needs more apps for the University of Miami. She gets a ton.
So South Florida is
Yeah. So, I mean, she gets a ton for Orlando at Rollins College. That school is always well-staffed. I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but
Yeah,
we were just talking about that.
definitely. Florida, I feel like the apps always roll in a bit late, so the sooner they're in, that's even better. And then typically, I think Texas is always a place we're looking for more apps. Also New York and Massachusetts area.
Yep. I mean, I can tell you right now with some of our Massachusetts schools, we do have housing, but they might not be right in Boston. Like our Merrimack College location, it's 45 minutes north of Boston, but there's housing there. My Bentley location, which is 20 minutes from the city, 10 miles from the city, I do have housing. So I could use staff there. Same thing with some of our camps in the New York area as well. But New York City, we definitely need commuters. MIT, which is right in Cambridge and Boston, we need commuters. Schools like UCLA or UC San Diego, that's a very hard place to get into because it's a very popular one. But I don't want to deter anyone. There's always a chance. You never know.
Something that I'd like to say about our application and in regards to location preferences, the more locations that you choose, kind of broadens your range of selection. So there's 18 of us that hire staff for the summer. So if you only select Rollins College that's your only choice, which is okay if that's all you want, then I'm the only one that's going to see your application. But if you select, Rollins and University of Michigan and University of Wisconsin and whatever, Emory, then all of those regional managers are going to see your application. So then that,
higher odds.
more likely to be called for an interview.
Gotcha. So we got another question. Randy Davis from Worthington, Minnesota. Anything close to Worthington?
I don't know where Worthington is, but we do have McAllister College or University in Minnesota. So I'm not sure, Randy, how far, but it is a big camp. So we have about 96 kids that go there. So our staff is close to about 13, 14. I'll tell you, it's one of our more unique staff. They do a lot of amazing, fun videos. So,
is there an age limit for the camp instructors? Do you have to be 18 or 21 or?
No, that's a great question. You have to be 18.
Right, you have to be 18.
And you have to have graduated high school, I believe.
And legally able to work in the United States.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Charlie Fan from Orlando, Florida asks, if one gets an ID Tech camp job, would it be possible to get an ID Tech Academy job or another permanent job after summer camp?
Actually, that's a great question. So the unique thing about ID Tech camps is we're growing as a company. So this year we're hiring 30% more summer staff, but also our full-time positions are growing as well. So if you were to go to idtech.com/jobs right now, you'll see there's a careers tab right now. And currently we have about 8 positions. And one of them is really unique where it's a content developer. So we have our, the 4 camps that Jen mentioned that fall under ID Tech, but we also have an online division as well where we have online programs for students where they can continue their learning. It's called ID Tech 365. So this content developer would develop their own content, they write it, they illustrate it, and then they would actually give a recorded or live webinar on it. And the skill set that we're currently looking for they would be skilled in either, I think both C++ and iOS development. But we also have our own in-house curriculum team. And so, something I was telling a lot of the Full Sail students today is we have close to 100 full-time employees. 45% or 43% of them work at camp. So there's a lot of growth within the company. We both worked at the camp. So we get to know you better. If you've worked for us in the summer, we get to see what kind of work ethic you have, how knowledgeable you are. It increases your chances for full-time employment. And as a company that is increasingly growing, we're looking to hire close to 50 to 80, I think, full-time positions by the end of the year, which is a lot.
And those jobs, they would apply at the same website, idtech.com?
It's actually a little bit of a different process.
Okay.
For the full-time
For the
jobs.
full-time, for our careers, it'll actually tell you at the bottom, you'll submit your resume and cover letter to an email. It's jobs@idtech.com. And our HR manager will go through that, and they sort through, and they'll be contacting people for interviews and whatnot. But the career development department here is always looking out for our full-time opportunities, and they actually blast them out to their alumni and grads as well. They're pretty good about doing that.
Gotcha. So Jake Perry again wants to know, what is the pay for these jobs like?
Awesome. That's a great question. So starting out, our instructors are paid $500 per week. And then if you're overnight, you earn an additional $100. So we're up to $600 per week. And then we have different levels. We have our lead instructor, assistant directors, and directors. And the pay increases with each of those positions.
And one thing to mention with that too is for our overnight instructors, one thing to factor in is we do cover lodging for you to be on campus. We also take care of your meals Sunday night through Friday lunch. So during those weeks, you're covered. I mean, it's some dining halls are better than others. I mean, UCLA's is amazing.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, what's the food?
Yeah, if you go to UCLA, it's
ravioli.
Harvard is the best.
Harvard used to be the best. We used to eat at the faculty club, and it was they had like lobster tails, and the kids were just like, "What is this?" And I would secretly go to do site visits the days they were having the really good stuff, but. It varies at different locations. Some schools have really, state-of-the-art dining facilities, and some are just, it is. But at the end of the day, that's money that you don't have to take out of your pocket and worry about paying. So with the amount of hours you're working, and you realize that you don't have a lot, sometimes downtime, or you just don't have the energy to go out. And so at the end of the summer, you realize how much money you've been saving because you're not spending it on food or any type of lodging. You're working and, saving a lot of this money. So we have a good salary for, our camp industry, and we feel it's pretty competitive. And even at the academies, which is our 2-week program, where we require our staff to be a little bit more knowledgeable and have a little bit more expertise, the pay rate's a little bit higher than it would be for our tech camp, which is a 1-week program that Jen just talked about, the pay rate. So, you do get paid, but you also do get some other benefits that come along with it.
So Dwayne B., not Bo. I went there for all you fantasy football fans out there. Dwayne B. from Chicago wanted to know, is there anything close to Chicago, Illinois?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, we have Northwestern University, a really large camp, over 100 campers per week, so that staff is very large. We also have 2 or 3 camps at Lake Forest College in Lake Forest, Illinois. And I think that's it for Chicago.
That's it for Chicago.
When I say 2 or 3 camps at Lake Forest College, we have your ID Tech Camp, we have the ID
Programming
Game
Academy.
Design and Development, and the ID Programming Academy.
Leela from Brooklyn, New York wanted to know about interview tips. So interviewing with ID Tech.
That's a great question.
Do's and don'ts, I guess.
So for all of our instructor positions, we do on the phone, so phone interviews. There's no in-person just because we all work remotely and we're interviewing a lot of people from all over the country. So they're done over the phone. The one thing we ask is take the time before the interview to really research, our company. Think about the type of courses that you might be interested in. Read about us, find out, because we will ask questions. Hey, did you take a look at our website? What are you interested in teaching? And when we find people that are like, the programming class, that doesn't really do anything for you. But also be in a surrounding area that is quiet. Make sure you have good reception.
No animals.
Yeah, and just be comfortable. This is we're trying to get to know who you are. So we want to don't worry about being tense and whatnot.
And we also want to make sure this is a good fit for you. So have questions ready. We want to see if you're a fit for us. Also, if we're a fit for you. So questions are always helpful.
Yes.
Yeah. What would you say are the 2 most common mistakes in an interview would be that you tend to get?
I think one mistake is being surprised about questions that are relating to dealing with children. This is a summer camp, and so you have to think about, how will you talk to them if there's an issue with their behavior, or how will you, sue the homesick kid, or how will you, work with a team with a bunch of kids around you. So take that into consideration.
Also, another thing is, I understand, sometimes how you talk to other people. We all have, just be careful with your choice of words, what I guess I'm saying. Please don't curse on the interview. I know sometimes it could be a slip of the tongue.
You get that?
But yeah, it happens. I know I had to watch myself. When I went to camp, you got to think you're in a camp setting, so you got to be very careful what you're saying. So, if you're slipping up with me now, I can only imagine what you'll probably say in front of a 13 or 15-year-old,
Right.
and they're going to be like, "Oh, you wouldn't believe what I heard at camp," and then tell their parents. So, just be careful of that. And also at the end of the interview, please don't ask how you did. That's just a pet peeve. Just know that, just be confident in yourself that the interview went well, but please, one of our pet peeves for all of us hiring managers is don't ask how you did.
So how did it go?
Yeah.
Don't say that. So Hannah J. From Winter Park, Florida asks, would we be trained in CPR, or would we have that done before we arrive at camp? I think we talked a little bit about that.
Yeah.
So that's something that, how does that come up though?
When we call to hire staff, tell them that, yes, we offer you this position, we go through the process of saying, you need to be CPR and first aid certified, and we give them, resources where they can get that done well before camp. And then we have an in-person training. We don't do CPR and first aid training. We do training for staff in particular about teaching techniques and train on our camp culture. So that way when you arrive at camp, you know exactly what an ID Tech camp will look like and feel like.
So the question came up too, Jeff from Orlando wanted to ask, is there scholarships for students who attend the camps by chance?
We do. We actually provide scholarship and tuition packages, tuition assistance to our students. So they have the ability. It's on our website. I don't know the direct link off the top of my head, but you are able to find it, and anyone is able to submit for it or ask for it. There's no qualifications. Last year we gave out close to over 300,000 worth of scholarships and tuition assistance. So, it's really exciting for us and to be able to do such a thing like that, and that's continuing this year.
I do know the deadline for tuition assistance request is April 1st.
Oh, okay.
So if you do know of anyone, or if you have siblings or relatives that you're thinking about for that, just know the deadline's April 1st. But anyone can ask, so asking never hurts. I guess. Yep.
So we have another question that came up about the background check. And in the department I work with career development, we have an employer, ESPN, that does the same thing, and we get that question as well. How in-depth is the background check? Do I have to work about credit, or is it,
We're looking for more, it's more of a criminal. We do a query, which is your criminal background.
Right.
And then for Massachusetts and some of our compliance states, so some of our states have compliance laws that we have to abide by. So in Massachusetts, all of my staff not only go through a query and a SORI. They don't do anything, it's more on our end, where we'll just run the background check. There's no cost associated with anything, but we have to do our due diligence and make sure that everything is coming up clean, that no one has been a sexual predator or just something that, we can't have at camp. So in our application, we do ask that question right off the bat. And, we ask people, please be honest. We'd rather know up front than hire you and then get this background check, because they do take time and then have to talk about it. And so...
So having been here on campus now, for you, Jen, twice, for you, this is your first time, Robbie, you have any questions for us? What do you've been through the process with Cammie, who, Cammie Smith is our industry outreach rep at Career Development, and Wynn Davis, who have the relationship with you year round and are helping your needs there. Are there any questions that you have about our grads or students or Full Sail?
That's a great question.
I know, I've kind of flipped the
Yeah.
table.
You
She
flipped
said
it
have
over.
questions.
I know, have questions ready.
Oh, man.
No, but I know I kind of might have put you on the spot there. But one thing, we do career development at Full Sail. I'll mention for those online that this might be their first kind of taste into career development and the process there. Definitely don't be a stranger. Come and see us during open door. Come see your advisor. Reach out to us, because it's relationships that we have with ID Tech, and we value that so much. We are thrilled. You guys know we love treating you like rock stars when you're on our campus, and you guys are so wonderful in what you do and all the great things you're doing at ID Tech, and looking at our grads. But I'll ask you something else here too. We've talked about the interview process. We've talked about the expectation. Now, y'all rehire a lot of the people that you use. So once you go in, do you just keep that running list and you call them back next year and they're first up on?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We have email blasts that go out to returners. We actually have a program that if you apply back before a certain time frame in February, you receive, like this cool track jacket or nice hoodie that you'll receive at camp. We also have referral programs that if you refer a friend and they end up hired, you get like a $25 gift card to Amazon.
Increase in pay.
You get an increase in pay. There's, a lot of different opportunities. Maybe you want to become an assistant director and develop your leadership quality as well. You also increase pay, but you're also learning some new traits and skills and taking on something completely different.
And our returning staff always have, if they apply early enough, if they apply in April, it's kind of like, we'll find a spot for you. But if they apply early enough, they select, like, where do you want to work? What do you want to teach? It's open field.
Yeah, that's nice.
Do you get people that once they've done it, they're like, hey, can I do 2 or 3 camps? Or, hey, I'm in a different area now. Can I shoot for something else?
Yes.
We actually have an example. One of our students, Rogelio, or known as Roger, he worked at our New York camp for 2 years. And he is recently living in the Boston area. And he applied to me, which is, I have never worked with Roger before, but I've known him. I've met him at our regional trainings. And since he's living in the Boston area now, he wanted to work at our Boston camp. So I hired him to work at our Boston location. So he's someone who's worked in New York for the past 2 years. And now this summer, he'll be working in Boston. And he's a Full Sail grad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What camp is he with now?
Bentley University.
Bentley?
So, yeah.
And he's teaching?
He'll be teaching our level design with the UDK, and he'll also be teaching 3D modeling and animation with Maya. So since he's a returner, he kind of gets first stab at that. Actually, he'll be working at MIT, I'm so sorry, in Cambridge. So which is, he'll be working at MIT, which is a great camp, and it was a big position, and he's a lead instructor, so he has some leadership responsibilities. But yeah, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, the last question I'll ask you, so you just said lead instructor. Are there any tips on somebody that, really accelerates in the role? Certain things, tips that you would say that if you want to, be above the norm in your position at ID Tech, these are some consistent things we see with some of our employees.
I mean, just people who take initiative. Don't sit around, wait for direction. I mean, they see something that needs to be done, go and do it. Someone that's reliable, follows through, can take direction, handle different responsibilities. You mentioned the word above and beyond. Basically going above and beyond what is expected of them. Someone who is really teaching their classes, but setting up activities for their students, or really getting to know their kids, or helping out other instructors. Someone who just, really enjoys being there and is a big team player. That's.
And a lead instructor is the person who needs to be very approachable. The other staff can go to them for assistance with their lesson plans or teaching tips. And then the director can look at them as okay, I have to step out for a minute. I need you to take over the entire camp. So someone who feels very comfortable being in charge and can provide, us with some examples of how they've done that. If you started a club, or did you lead something in your community? Just some type of leadership experience.
Our GPS points here at Full Sail, when we have a lot of people that gain extra points through that for creating clubs or donating blood or getting involved in the community. But I definitely, want to say thank you both. We're very excited to have you here on campus again. Thank you all to the people that were out there and tuned in. We appreciate you. And definitely, reach out to your career development advisor. Definitely go to the website, ask questions, apply, and
our Facebook site.
Yeah, you can go to our Facebook. It's ID Tech Camps. It's a long one. ID Tech Camps Summer Employment. It's our Facebook page. Also, I will say, search me out on LinkedIn. Connect with me. My name is Robbie Little, R-O-B-B-Y, and I'm the recruiting manager. And search me out on Google search me, or just reach out on LinkedIn. It's a big way I connect with a lot of students, so don't hesitate, we can connect that way. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
All right. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
See you next time.
All right. Bye-bye.